Before President Trump's immigration crackdown was widely implemented in California, there were warning signs in San Diego. ICE descended on two popular restaurants in the city in late May, placing worker in zip ties for detainment, prompting a remarkable response from the neighborhood, who rallied to the scene and forced the agents to retreat under shouts of shame, shame. Joining me now is Democratic Mayor of San Diego, Mayor Todd Gloria. Mayor Gloria, we've been following the stories of families broken apart by ICE raids, as well as National Guard and Marines being deployed around the state to respond to demonstrations. Your city is a community with large populations of both immigrants and service members. What are you hearing from your constituents about what's going on?
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to share a lot of anxiety at home. Anxiety, obviously, for those who are undocumented, their family members, loved ones, for the businesses that may employ them and impact their ability to operate, but also from everyday San Diegans, as you saw in the reactions of residents who responded to that enforcement action in South Park in my city just 3 weeks ago. And that anxiety is on top of all the anxiety that Americans are already feeling in terms of the political turmoil here and abroad, as well as the rising cost of living that really has everybody beside themselves. It's just a cumulative trauma that is making a bad situation worse. And obviously, they're acting out, as I think I see there on the screen. It was just a few weeks later, 60,000 San Diegans took to the streets of downtown San Diego to express their displeasure with this. They did it peacefully. And Reverend Al, I'd love to tell you that we had 0 arrests, 0 acts of vandalism, no problems whatsoever. People came out and expressed that anxiety by marching, and I couldn't have been prouder of my residents than that day.
Now, Vice President J.D. Vance was in your state just yesterday, mocking Senator Portillo and trying to blame the unrest in your state on Democratic politicians, including Governor Newsom and L.A. Mayor Karen Bass. Take a listen to their response to the Vice President's visit.
Well, first of all, the whole visit was insulting. It was a photo op, and really he was here for a fundraiser. But he comes in, he makes all of these, statements about what is not happening in L.A. at all, and then insults the senator that he serves with now.
I imagine he's here to assert himself, to show his formal authority, to try to sort of express himself in a way that reinforces the frame that you just advanced as it relates to these authoritarian tendencies of this administration to inflame, not to soften the edges of the situation.
Nearly 70,000 people gathered last weekend, over 60,000, as you said, for the No King Day protest. In San Diego, there wasn't a single arrest, as you said, and police didn't receive any reports of property damage. Do you think they're being heard? Because we continue to hear from the president that California is out of control.
Well, that's why I appreciate this opportunity, because we need to tell the story of the fact that it wasn't just my city, but cities all across this country, millions of Americans mobilizing peacefully, exercising their constitutional right to express their displeasure, their opposition to what this administration is doing. And I would just say that, the vice president's visit, I think, is emblematic of the politics that we're in today. I'm at the U.S. Conference of Mayors annual meeting in Tampa, Florida right now, where you have a bipartisan group of mayors coming together to get stuff done. This is in contrast to the performative politics that we see so often at the state and national level that literally gets nothing done. Reverend Al, I could not get away with that. I have to fill potholes. I have to house homeless people. And so these performative acts of flying in and sort of kicking up some dirt and then leaving does absolutely nothing to reduce the cost of living in our communities. It definitely doesn't make us safer, which is a part of why people are marching against these immigration enforcement actions that are done in the name of public safety, but do zero to do that. And this is where I appreciate the chance to let folks know I lead the largest border city in the United States of America. We also happen to be one of the safest big cities in America with the lowest homicide rate of the top 10 cities in the United States. I could not be prouder of San Diego, and we have a record of contrast to what is often said on cable news, and that word has to get out, and I appreciate you giving me this chance to spread that word.
Let me ask you this. Trump's immigration crackdown is not just impacting San Diego and California, but cities all over the nation. And as you stated, you're joining us from the Conference of Mayors in Tampa, Florida. What are you hearing from your fellow mayors?
Well, I think what we'd love to do is come together and compare notes. You know, being mayor is a tough job, certainly these days. And what I hear across the country, doesn't matter, red state, blue state, big city, small town, rural or urban, what you hear is a frustration with the state of play, particularly with regard to tariffs. You know, as mayors, we are impacted by tariffs as well. We represent millions of Americans that are impacted by tariffs and the higher costs that they're paying for gas, groceries, housing, et cetera. But we as mayors lead large organizations. In my case, the city of San Diego, the 8th largest city in this country, 12,000 employees, a $6 billion budget. But I'm here to tell you that these increased costs are being passed on to me, and those are fewer dollars that I have to fill potholes and house homeless people. It's extremely frustrating. And so Republicans, Democrats, and independents here at the Conference of Mayors are all speaking with one voice to say that we need a sanity when it comes to trade policy. We need to make sure that we return to policies that reduce costs and share prosperity. Obviously, what's happening over the last 6 months is not getting the job done. We hope that our collective voices will drive change in Washington, D.C.
All right, San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria, thank you for being with us.